Well, it does look like we have big changes in the works as we get a little closer to the weekend. Cloud cover already starting to move in here Thursday night. This is Thursday night that we are doing this. We'll give you an update again tomorrow and then as we get closer to the weekend. This storm is going to be a huge weather maker for all of our friends over on the west side. Think Seattle, Portland, think coastal communities. Lots of wind, lots of rain, and then snow along those mountain crests. For us, it looks like it's all rain until you get up a little bit higher in elevation. We are dry on Friday. Rain does return Friday evening, so all day I think we stay dry right through sunset, and then that rain moves in. Rain starts tomorrow night, and then we are cold and rainy all weekend long with snow levels dropping. Snow levels are going to start at around 5,000 feet. It's a warm push on the front side of this, but as this moves in, we will then watch those snow levels start to creep down. And by Sunday, they're about 3,500 feet. For reference, that means 49, Mount Spokane, Schweitzer, Silver, and Lookout all wind up seeing a decent amount of snow, even as far down as the bases. However, looks like only Lookout Pass on our side of this whole thing winds up with some of the snow. 4th of July Pass, it's at about 3,000 feet. So I think for there, it's going to be those raindrops that almost look like snowflakes that melt as they hit your windshield and you go, is it raining or is it snowing? That's where I think we are with 4th of July Pass by Sunday and even Monday morning. You're heading over to the west side, expect to encounter some snow over any of those mountain passes. If you're going over Stevens, Snoqualmie, Washington, whatever it might be, just know that that's kind of where we are in this. Down low though, it's a different story. With your high temperatures up near 50 degrees both days, it's hard to get it to snow. Excuse me. Overnight lows in the 40s each night keep us well above freezing. So Saturday winds up bringing around widespread rain and a decent amount of wind. I should just change that snow level dropping to wind. But seriously, it is going to be rather breezy. By Sunday, as that colder air mass settles in, we have on and off showers and snow levels around that 3,500 foot mark. So it's a big difference a day makes once we get that cold air in place. When it comes to the chance of rain though, best chances seem to be Saturday and Sunday. Saturday I think winds up a little cloudier than Sunday. Sunday still brings us rain, but it also brings us more dry weather throughout the day. So I think if you're looking for a day to get out and do anything, Sunday is a much better day than Saturday due to the lack of wind, or wind not as strong as what we see on Saturday, and to an extent not the prevalence of the rain that we wind up seeing. Monday those showers move out, and by Tuesday we should wind up a bit drier. A lot going on. I always love the water vapor imagery because it tells the story. There's always a story here. One is the moisture. This is our big moisture plume. That moisture is what is going to fuel our showers, rain or snow or whatever it might be. And then the energy right back behind it, it happens. And then we can just kind of trace all of it. There's our next one. So we know what's headed our way. We can already see it in satellite imagery. We just have to play it out. And it plays out quite interestingly. We're going to start wide and then we're going to move down because I really like the way this looks. We're all the way on Saturday. Here comes that round of rain. Notice it is just snow on the tippy tops of some of those mountains. We're talking well above 5,000 feet. So when you get into the Cascades, mountain tops. When you get into Idaho, kind of think mountain tops as well at the start of this. But then as this cold air starts funneling in, what winds up happening to us is that we have this big atmospheric trough in place. So we pull in the cold air overhead. Remember, with an atmospheric trough, it's much easier to get those showers. You have rising air, you have cold air overhead. It's just everything we need to make rain happen. So when we get these little disturbances, it's really easy for us to squeeze out some of that moisture. Saturday, that's our widespread rain. Then as we move from Saturday into Sunday, you can see that next wave of energy moving in, and notice how much more snow is there with this one. That one's tapping into that cold sink. That's what we call it when it's way up in the atmosphere overhead. So then we start pulling down some of that cold, and that's when our snow levels drop. That's how we go from about 5,000 feet down to that 3,500 foot mark by Sunday. So that means some of those mountain passes wind up with snow. But if you're going to look for that snow, it doesn't really hit us until we get into the day on Sunday. Rain, incredible for the west side. Check out some of these rain totals. Some places are going to measure rain in the form of inches. Seriously, even some low-lying areas are talking inches of rain. This is going to be a huge story. I bet some of the rain and wind we see over on the west side winds up making national news. It is going to be that big of a deal. But then look at the stark contrast. You see the mountains there, the Cascades. You get into central Washington, and some places still picking up a decent amount, more than 1/10 of an inch of rain over the weekend, but a far cry from what we're seeing. Look at this, 2 inches in Seattle and Olympia, Portland around there. You get over to the coast, you're talking even more rain. This is a huge, huge weather maker. Remember, these are our potentials for rainfall. Here on our side of the state, about 1/2 inch, pretty widespread. Some places like Colville, Sandpoint might wind up squeezing out a little bit closer to 1 inch. To put all that in perspective, that's less than we saw last weekend. Still a decent amount of rain nonetheless, and a decent weather maker as this thing moves in. Remember, snow, we talked at 3,500 feet, basically means it all stays in the mountains. This is our most overzealous forecast model, but notice what it does. Puts a little snow on Micah Peak. You might wind up waking up Monday morning and going, there's snow on Micah Peak for the first time this season. Mount Spokane. Lookout Pass, 4th of July Pass even winds up with a little bit of snow in this forecast model. I do think this one is a little more overzealous. So if you're driving 4th of July Pass, I think our car traffic keeps it a little bit better, maybe not necessarily sticking to the roads, but still getting some of that snow to make it up on some of those peaks right around 4th of July Pass. You're heading over Stevens or Snoqualmie, plan for a little bit more snow. I think Stevens Pass winds up taking the brunt of this one and picking up a decent amount. Washington Pass, forget about it. You head over Sherman Pass, definitely encountering snow up there. Once you get north of Colville, you might even see some of that snow start to creep down a little bit lower just with how this works. Bonners Ferry, not necessarily getting the snow, but you don't have to go far into the Selkirks to find it. So all those hunters out there this weekend, remember, if you're heading up over 3,500 feet, if you're setting camp up at about 3,500 feet, your rain does change to snow. I've talked to a few of them heading out this weekend, and I'm saying, it isn't going to be anything crazy out of this thing. You're talking a ton of rain on Saturday, but then by Sunday, it's those scattered showers that do wind up giving you a little bit of snow, which might help you with a little bit of tracking and make it easier to see some of those animals. All right, now let's talk it on a local level. This is where we're going to zoom in and look at the same thing. This is the same thing we looked at in water vapor imagery. You can still see it. It's not often that it's this pronounced, that giant plume of moisture moving in, and that is what takes over. We've already seen some scattered showers over on the west side. This is our cloud cover that slid in Thursday evening, and I do think we wind up catching a break in some of that cloud cover during the day tomorrow, but eventually our rain does move in. Not until maybe around 8 p.m. It starts out really light. I would say if you have a Friday night date night or you're doing anything outside tomorrow after dark, not a big concern. It's just not going to come down hard enough that I would be concerned about it or wear even a raincoat. I would just be like, oh yeah, I'm outside in my hoodie going, all right, it's starting to rain, because we are going to trap some of that heat from our 60-degree high on Friday. Then all that moves out, and here comes our next plume of moisture. Saturday winds up different. I think Saturday is a different story for two reasons. One being the fact that the rain itself is going to be heavier. Two, it comes with wind. The arrival of our rain coincides with the arrival of more wind. Saturday, I think it holds off through morning and doesn't hit us here in Spokane until about the middle of the day. But notice places in central Washington, Moses Lake, Othello, Wenatchee, even Yakima gets it a little bit earlier, and then it lifts off to the north. I think if you're, say, in Leavenworth, you could look up into the mountains, maybe see a little bit of snow if those clouds aren't hanging too low. Down across the Palouse, it does start a little bit earlier, but still mid to late morning. Then that moves through. It's pretty decent rain, but notice we catch a little bit of a break, and then it kind of hits in waves. We'll catch a few waves throughout the day on Saturday. So once the rain starts on Saturday, if it stops, I would not plan on it being done. I would just kind of look at it like, yep, we're in it now. If it stops, it's never going to dry out before the next wave hits. Sunday, a bit of a different story. Notice it's more scattered showers as we start the day, and then it becomes a little more prevalent as that next wave moves in. So Sunday starts out drier. We'll see more of those showers develop, and that's where we have that cold air in place. So notice everything that's coming down is coming down as snow up in the mountains. I think Sunday into Monday is when we really have to concern ourselves with what's going on up high. Saturday, seriously, no concern about snow. it's way too warm. Sunday, that's when things start changing. Zooming in, same thing. Remember, we're just doing this on a local scale. You get up to Ritzville, Moses Lake, about 1/4 of an inch, maybe up to about 1/3 of an inch. Richland, about 2/10 of an inch. Ellensburg, Wenatchee, Leavenworth, I think you're about 1/2 an inch of rain out of this one. We're close to that in Spokane. Coeur d'Alene winds up around there. Sandpoint, remember I said you could pick up closer to an inch. Colville, similar story. St. Mary's, about 3/4 of an inch. Pullman, Moscow, you could get close to an inch out of this one. Remember, this is going to be a lot of moisture moving through. That's just the way this works. Look how it passed. I think it starts as rain. A good chunk of Saturday is rain. As we move from Saturday into Sunday, you wind up seeing that shift towards snow. So most of what we see on the passes is going to be rain out of our warm Saturday push. Let's talk wind. Wind picks up Saturday. Notice by Saturday afternoon it gets going. So this is rain and then your wind picks up. Once the wind picks up, then those next rounds of rain just pack a bigger punch. It's going to feel colder. It's going to be blowing stronger. It's just a bigger deal when your wind is gusting at 35 to 45 miles per hour. Most of our strong wind winds up down to our south. I would say the Columbia River Gorge winds up getting a ton of rain, especially down, say, Dalles all the way through to Portland. I would just count that as going to be windy. For us here in eastern Washington, most of our wind arrives after dark. It is going to be a little bit calmer because of that. I think the timing of that helps us to not see some of those really incredibly strong wind gusts. And then as we move from Saturday into Sunday, it looks like wind calms down. It's still there, but 20 to 30 max. And that we're talking max, and we're talking places like Kittitas County coming out of the pass and then down to our south. We're not talking anything crazy widespread, and it is a much different day. But that cold air mass is then in place, and that plays a role in our snow levels dropping and how much colder it feels. We are mild again once we get through this next week, but here's how it goes. Tomorrow, 62 degrees, or Friday, 62 degrees with a little bit of evening rain. Saturday, we have rain in the forecast and temperatures starting to drop as wind picks up later on in the day. Scattered showers on Sunday and Monday as high temperatures hover in the 40s. And by Tuesday, our overnight low might just drop back down below freezing. So it's a big shift in the weather pattern, and it all takes place starting tomorrow.